We are born to find, keep, and live through love. The constant search for true love is a common topic in many stories, songs, and movies. It's usually shown as the greatest goal in life. Society tells us to look for a partner who will make us forever happy and save us from feeling worried or alone. But there's another side to this perfect view of love that's not often talked about. Finding true love doesn't always bring the never-ending happiness we want. Usually, love is a path with strong feelings that go up and down. These feelings can change from great joy to really deep sadness. Studies show that this kind of emotional ride might not be good for our mind and body. This idea becomes stronger when we think about what Buddhism teaches, that romantic love might actually get in the way of real happiness. Unlike what most people believe, it's interesting to think about not getting caught up in love, or even doubting how important it is. For people who are more questioning or logical, this is something to really consider. This video will explore why we maybe shouldn't think of romantic love as being so great. This aims to get people to really think about their views on romantic love. It challenges the viewer to question what they always believed and to see that not falling in love can sometimes be a good and positive thing. This method not only teaches us more about love, but also pushes us to find a more genuine and well-balanced happiness. Before getting started, don't forget to see if you're subscribed and do share your views, as it makes our community stronger. First point, love is like a drug. When we fall in love, the way we see things around us changes a lot. People we didn't like before are okay now, and things we didn't enjoy are not so bad. Everything looks brighter and more colorful. The sky looks bluer, and our usual troubles seem to disappear as if they're melting away in the sunshine. This happy feeling, this different way of thinking, is what makes falling in love so special and something we really want. All of a sudden, things that used to matter don't seem important anymore because of this big new feeling. The life we had, which felt boring and dull, now looks colorful and full of energy like never before. Seen this way, romantic love becomes almost magical, and it's been shown in lots of art and stories for ages. The well-known British thinker Bertrand Russell pointed out that the best happiness in life might come from romantic love. He saw the love between men and women, with its passion, imagination, and gentleness, as something very valuable. He felt that missing out on this love is a huge loss for people. But this lovely idea of romantic love has a hidden risk. It can be addictive. Like other addictions, romantic love can make us constantly chase a happy feeling and a break from real life, making life without love feel empty. This kind of emotional need can cause a cycle of big ups and downs in our feelings, which can really affect our mental health and how well we are overall. So the question is, how much is relying on romantic love good for us, and can it last over time? Science shows that passion and romantic love are strong feelings, mainly because our brain releases chemicals like dopamine and oxytocin. These brain chemicals are connected to feelings like desire, thrill, extreme happiness, and connection, all important parts of being attracted to someone and forming an emotional bond. What's really interesting is how this is similar to the feeling of using drugs, a comparison that some scientists have made. Dr. Helen Fisher, a famous expert on human biology, shares an interesting view in her Nautilus Journal article. She says that being in love is like the effects of cocaine. She notes that the way people in love behave is similar to how drug addicts act. She bases this on studies that use brain imaging to show that the same parts of the brain are active in people in love and people using drugs. Fisher says that a big part of being in love is the strong want that comes with it, which is also a key thing in addictions. She explains how the person in love gets more and more obsessed, wanting to be around the one they love more often. This is called intensification in addiction studies. This obsession isn't just about wanting to be close physically or emotionally. It also includes non-stop thinking about the loved one, which is a common thing in drug addiction. This scientific way of looking at things makes us rethink how we usually see romantic love. It says that, in some ways, being in love is like being addicted to chemicals. This makes us wonder how healthy it is to depend on love, and if romantic love, which we often think of as perfect, could actually be bad for our mental health and happiness. Comparing love to an addictive drug gives us a new way to think about romantic love. Like with addictive drugs, when we're in love, we start to depend on the person we love. This strong feeling makes us want their company and attention all the time, always trying to keep and bring back the happy and excited feeling we get from the relationship. When we don't get our usual amount of love, like when there's distance, a breakup, or any other reason we're away from our loved one, we might start to feel similar to someone going through withdrawal. For addicts, this can mean feeling worried, very unhappy, easily annoyed, or even in tougher situations, feeling depressed and a sense of emptiness and hopelessness. Getting over love, just like getting off a drug, means you have to go through a withdrawal period. This time is all about slowly letting go of the emotional and mental connections with the person you loved, which can be tough and hurt. This might mean staying away from them physically and emotionally, thinking about the relationship, and trying to get back your own emotional strength and confidence. This idea that romantic love can be addictive suggests we should think again about how we handle our romantic relationships. Being aware of love's addictive side could lead us to create relationships that are healthier and more balanced, where love and dependence are kept in check, avoiding too much emotional reliance. Second point, love changes how we see things. When we fall in love, we usually see the person we love as better than they are, like wearing glasses that make everything look rosy. This means we focus on their good points and often don't see their bad sides. This love glasses effect can really affect who we choose to be with. When we wear these love glasses, it's harder for us to notice if the person we love is being abusive, self-centered, or has other harmful traits. We might ignore these bad behaviors or see them in a better light. This can result in bad or even unsafe relationships, where the person in love isn't treated well or kept safe by their partner. Also, thinking that we're in love with the only person meant for us is part of seeing them too perfectly. Really, it's not very likely that there's just one perfect person for each of us out there. There are actually many people we could get along with well. But when we're in love, we often ignore this fact and believe we've found someone truly special and just right for us. Seeing love as something magical or meant to be takes it beyond science and reason. This way of thinking can make us expect too much and chase after a perfect relationship, while we ignore the real-life issues and things that don't match up in the relationship. So it's crucial to have a balanced view of romantic love, understanding that it can make us see things in an idealized way. This can lead us to build healthier, more true-to-life relationships, where we accept and really understand our partners for who they are, both their good points and their faults. Wearing love glasses not only changes how we see the other person, but also makes us act in ways that can be dangerous and unwise. When in love, people often take chances, make silly choices, and even give up their own values and limits for the person they want. This habit of changing or pretending to be different to impress the other person can range from small lies to big changes in how we act and look. Also, strong feelings can lead to big decisions, like cheating in a marriage, where someone risks a stable relationship for their feelings for someone else. Looking at the brighter side, when we're in love, big problems seem smaller and like challenges we can beat. Differences in culture and religion, different wants about kids, mental health issues, or being far apart, things that would usually be deal breakers, now look like obstacles we can jump over. But this positive view can make us take these problems too lightly, not seeing the real troubles they can cause in a relationship. This habit of overlooking big mismatches and real-life difficulties often leads to serious issues and heartbreak. People in love who see things unrealistically might change what they think is important and their daily routines just to make their loved one happy. They often do things that are not right, unsafe, or very extreme. There's even a change in who they are, known as emotional disturbance, where they act differently because of the relationship. It's amazing how many people in love will do anything for their partner, even if it means risking their own lives. This readiness to give up everything for love makes us think about what's healthy in a relationship and how love changes our choices and thinking. Knowing and getting these patterns can help us create more even and aware relationships, where we make choices thinking more about what could happen and what we really value. Strong feelings and being scared of losing the person we love can make us do things that are not like us at all. Acting desperately to get the loved one's attention, causing a fuss in public, or in really bad cases, turning to violence are ways that romantic love can make us act in crazy and often hurtful ways. Arthur Schopenhauer, a philosopher from Germany, has a gloomy but eye-opening view on this. He talks about how after being intimate, people suddenly see things clearly and realize that the passion was just an illusion. In this moment, after their physical needs are met, the person they idealized is seen just as an ordinary person made of bones and flesh. This honest view is very different from the dreamy image of love, showing the gap between how love can twist our view and the more down-to-earth, less magical reality. This idea means that when we fall in love, we're easily tricked, not seeing the ordinary and less appealing sides of our partner. With love glasses on, we think the person we love is almost perfect. But when these glasses come off, either because the strong feelings end or we start seeing the person as they really are, we can be really surprised or even shocked to see how our own feelings misled us. This can make us wonder, how did I ever fall in love with this person? This situation shows how much our body and brain chemicals affect how we see love and attraction. It tells us that even though we like to think of love as something special, it's mostly just a natural feeling that comes from our need to have children and keep our species going. Understanding that love is really about biology can help us have a more realistic view of romance, so we can handle our relationships in a smarter and more clear-headed way. Third point, being in love can really hurt. Just like life goes in cycles, so does romantic love. The thrill and joy of falling in love are matched by a decline that's just as strong and often really hurts. When a love story ends or the feelings aren't returned, it can cause a storm of bad feelings like deep despair, extreme sadness, and other kinds of heartache. The many songs, poems, and stories about heartbreak show just how true this is. Writer Anita Bruckner talks about this two-sided nature of love, saying that while it starts beautifully, it often leads to sadness and things not working out. Love, being full of strong emotions, prepares the ground for painful feelings like sadness, anger, and jealousy. These feelings can be so intense that they result in very serious outcomes like depression, non-stop crying, and in the worst cases, even suicide or hurting others. Buddhism says that the hurt we feel from romantic love is because of attachment, which they believe is the cause of all sadness. This attachment, or really wanting something or someone, makes us emotionally dependent, which can cause a lot of pain if what we expect doesn't happen, or if we lose what we desire. Epicurus, a philosopher who believed in self-control, gives us a smart way to think about this problem. He says that wanting things makes us try to get them, and not liking things makes us try to stay away from them. But if we can't get what we want, or avoid what we don't like, we end up unhappy and let down. This happens a lot in romantic love, where wanting someone a lot and being attached to them can cause big disappointment and emotional hurt if things don't turn out how we hoped. These views encourage us to think about what romantic love really is, and to understand the need to balance our feelings and what we expect from love. Knowing that love changes and goes through different stages can help us handle relationships with more understanding and emotional strength, reducing the hurt and increasing the happiness that love can give. The link between romantic love and being too attached is deep and complicated, as Buddhist monk An Sona points out. In romantic love, this attachment shows up as a really strong emotional need for the person we love. We often start to think that our happiness completely depends on them. This kind of attachment might be one of the most intense feelings we can have, because the person we love becomes the most important part of our feelings. An Sona points out that romantic relationships always involve some suffering, because the only thing that's certain is change. Changes in feelings, what's happening in life, or what we need can make the relationship unsteady. When one person wants to break up and the other doesn't, pain is sure to come. This shows how being too attached always leads to hurt. If one person stays in the relationship, they're unhappy. If they leave, the other person is hurt. This problem shows how emotional dependence in love relationships can be tricky. The Buddhist way of looking at this gives us important understanding about the complications of love. It tells us that being too attached in romantic relationships can cause pain because it leads to expectations and needs that often can't be kept up or completely met. The big question is how to handle this attachment so it causes less pain and leads to a more emotionally healthy balance. Realizing and getting the hang of how attachment works in love relationships is key to having a wiser and more thoughtful way of loving. This means finding happiness and well-being not just in someone else, but also in a better and more even understanding of our own feelings and what we need. Asking if we should stay away from falling in love hits on an important part of what it's like to be human. It's about the constant struggle between feelings and thinking, like what philosopher Nietzsche said about Dionysus and Apollo. On one side, there's the logical way of thinking, which says we should control our emotions to keep our minds clear and stay calm. Staying away from love might help us skip the big ups and downs and the hurt that comes with romance. But on the other side, we have to remember that strong feelings and basic human instincts are a big part of who we are. These parts, even though they don't always make sense, are key to many of the deepest and most important things in life. Love has inspired amazing art, helped form societies, and even started empires and great achievements. It's a strong force that not only brings people and families together, but also adds richness and passion to life that logic alone can't. So, even though love can hurt, it's really valuable, as Bertrand Russell pointed out. Ignoring this could mean missing out on a big part of what it means to be human. The goal is to find a middle ground between feeling emotions and thinking clearly. It's possible to be in love while still having a sensible outlook, recognizing the positives and the possible downsides of romantic love. Choosing to fall in love or not is a very personal decision based on someone's life, what they believe, and what matters to them. The answer might be in getting to know yourself and love more deeply, allowing for meaningful emotional moments while still being aware of their potential problems. Fourth point, uneven relationships. Stoic ideas, which focus on staying calm and in control, help us deal with relationships where one person depends too much on the other. Stoicism teaches that being independent and in charge of our own feelings is important. According to this way of thinking, we shouldn't let others or what happens around us decide if we're happy or at peace. Instead, we should focus on understanding and controlling how we see things and what we do. In relationships, it's common for one or both partners to give up important parts of themselves, like their hobbies, friends, or what they believe in, to make the other person happy. This often happens because they depend too much on each other for emotions. Doing this can make them lose who they are and start feeling unhappy and annoyed. Stoic philosophy tells us that it's good and normal to want our partner to be happy and to have a peaceful relationship. But we shouldn't do this in a way that hurts our own happiness and who we are. Depending too much on someone else, emotionally, can trap us in a cycle where our joy depends too much on having our partner around and getting their approval. Stoicism teaches us to find a middle ground where we understand and accept what we can't change, like how our partner feels or acts, and focus on what we can change, how we respond, our own feelings, and the choices we make. In a relationship, this means keeping your own identity, working on your own development, and not giving up your independence. Stoicism also stresses the need for a clear mind and peace. In a relationship that's not balanced, being too dependent emotionally can make it hard to think clearly and lead to quick or unfair choices. By using Stoic ideas, we can learn to keep a clear and even view of things, handling relationship issues calmly and logically. Lastly, it's important to know that for a relationship to be good and even, both people need to feel appreciated and supported, but still keep their own uniqueness and independence. Stoic teachings help us find a middle ground where each person can grow on their own and together in the relationship. This creates a situation where instead of depending too much on emotions, there's a respectful and supportive relationship between both partners. Fifth point, looking for completeness. In romantic relationships, we sometimes expect too much from another person, thinking they can fill all our emotional, mental, and even spiritual needs. This desire to be complete, seen from a Stoic perspective, shows that we're too dependent, which goes against the idea of being self-reliant and in charge of our own lives. Stoic philosophy tells us that it's important to be happy and feel good about ourselves on our own, not because of other things or people. If we depend on someone else for our happiness and self-esteem, we're giving away our own power. This makes us vulnerable, letting our emotions be controlled by what our partner does or feels. Depending too much on someone like this not only makes us expect too much from the relationship, but also can make us lose who we are and our independence. Stoics suggest that we should think clearly and understand what we can control. When we hope that someone else will fulfill all our emotional and mental needs, we're asking too much of them and setting ourselves up for being let down and feeling bitter. Many people fall into the trap of thinking that someone else can make them totally happy or complete. However, in truth, no one can really control that. Also, if we depend too much on our partner, we might start ignoring our own hobbies, beliefs, and even stop growing as a person. Sixth point, self-sufficiency in love. One of the critical aspects of a mature and stable relationship is the idea of self-sufficiency. This doesn't mean isolating oneself or avoiding intimacy, but rather finding a balance where each person in the relationship has their own identity, interests, and emotional well-being. Being self-sufficient means that while you enjoy and cherish the relationship, your happiness and self-worth are not entirely dependent on it. The danger of not being self-sufficient in a relationship is that it can lead to codependency. In such relationships, partners might feel like they can't live without each other, which can create a dynamic where personal growth is stifled and unhealthy patterns are perpetuated. It's vital to have a life outside the relationship, including friendships, hobbies, and goals, to maintain a sense of individuality and personal fulfillment. Seventh point, embracing impermanence in relationships. Another essential aspect to consider in the context of love and relationships is the Buddhist concept of impermanence. Everything in life is in a constant state of flux, and this includes relationships. Embracing this fact can help us appreciate the moments we have with our loved ones without clinging to them or fearing their loss. Understanding that relationships can change or end should not make us cynical or fearful, but should instead encourage us to cherish the present and work towards making our relationships as meaningful and fulfilling as they can be. This perspective can also make us more resilient in the face of relationship difficulties or endings, as we understand that change is a natural part of life. Stoic teachings tell us to build our inner strength, become more emotionally and mentally self-reliant, and find happiness on our own. In the end, trying to be complete through romantic love won't work if we forget to balance what we need with what the relationship needs. Real Stoic wisdom is knowing that feeling complete comes from being happy with ourselves and knowing ourselves well, not from what someone else does or is. Understanding this helps us build better and more even relationships, where instead of depending too much on each other emotionally, we support and respect each other's special qualities. If you like this, remember to subscribe, hit the like button, and share your thoughts in the comments. Until next time.